So we've just arrived here today. We're here to film the cold water series for PB Products. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be targeting this area of the lake. I'm out with the cameraman, Mr. John Flewin, and we're going to be showing you guys how to get the best out of winter day ticket fishing. Day ticket fishing itself offers many challenges. Everybody's trying to get on the fish, everybody wants the same thing, and it really is competitive. On top of that, winter fishing, as everybody knows, is never going to be easy. So we're going to combine the two and hopefully show you guys how to get the best of your winter sessions when targeting day tickets. Really pleased with this one. Arrived sort of yesterday morning. It's only an overnighter. Got the rods out, bit of a disaster, but it's all come good in the end. I'm going to get this one back, head off to work, but it is just proof that if you get things right on these busy day tickets and you keep the bait going in, you will catch them. A lot of people will go to PVA bags and singles, but I religiously put out a bucket of bait, 3 on a spot, and as this one shows, it works. So if you're on a busy day ticket water this winter or in the cold weather, give it a go. So we're just going to put that out there, just to the right of the reeds. Donk, perfect. I know it's about 11 foot, so I'm not really bothered about the depth because I've plumbed it before. I like to use a marker all the time really, but certainly on day ticket waters because I think it kind of claims your water and shows everybody where you're fishing. So it certainly felt quite firm as well. The left side of the spot isn't quite as hard, so you might find that when I put the bait out, the undertow's taking quite a bit of bait to the right, but that is the spot where I caught the fish from this morning. So we'll go back out there again. So I love this braid. The fact it's bright orange is fantastic. The water's really clear now it's got cold, and if you look out you can see for a good probably 2-3 rod lengths you can see the braid. So although it does look as it's coming off the tip like it's going to the left, that is just the undertow in the edge, and I can see that it straightens up, so it's not going to cause me a problem. So I'm going to put that down there. Because it's only 11 foot, I've managed to keep it so that, as I say, I haven't managed to plumb it because I know it is 11 foot. But what I'm now going to do is just put it in the clip, just in case we do have a disaster, because I know that I'm just 11 foot further than I need to be. Floats on the surface and it's in the clip. If I was to put that back out, for example, if it was really windy or something and I wanted to just get back out on the spot, I could hit it out there, and by the time it's fallen back, It's 11 foot deep, it's probably going to fall back 4 or 5 foot, so you're only going to be 6 foot off the back of the spot, and there's no weed or anything out there. So if I do need to do it in a rush, it's just something I always tend to do. Ideally, I'd re-wrap it and go again from start, but sometimes you haven't got time to re-wrap it, and so if it starts pouring with rain or something, then it's good enough to be there. Just get that line down for these swans don't take it. So I'm going to wrap this up now. That's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So what I've done, I've clipped everything up at the same range. It's not something I usually do, to be honest. When I'm fishing sort of syndicate waters, I tend to usually go 1/3 of the depth difference, and I tend to feel it down. With this, I'm spomming quite a lot, so I'm putting a lot of bait in, and I'm tending to, because I'm doing it quickly, I'm trying to get out at certain times, I'm finding I'm hitting the clip a little bit harder, and every time you hit that clip, because I'm doing it quick, I'm doing it harder, it is bouncing back a little bit. So I found that if I clip up at 17 and I put the spom at 17, that little bit of fallback from the spom where it hits the clip and bounces back is probably about 2 or 3 foot. Well, I know it's about 2 or 3 foot, which is pretty much the distance I'd usually take off when I was trying to get it sort of bang on. And I know this because when I've been fishing it before, when we put the rods out on a last session, when I was reeling in, I was hooking the sweet corn on the way back through, which, as John and I discussed, it probably means that the bait's a little bit further in front of the rigs, and that can only be because the spom's dropped it short, and the only reason the spom can drop it short is if it's hit the clip a bit firm. So when I'm doing that, as I say, and I'm putting quite a bit of bait out, I won't hesitate to just suddenly pick the spom up and put 15, 20 spoms out just to get them going. I started doing that last night, and as soon as I started spomming, I got liners. So it's like nothing else. There's a lot of fish in here. They want to feed. They see that corn and pellet coming through the water, and it just turns them on. They want to feed, and they get on the spot. Other lakes, you might put a spom out and the fish might leave, but on busy day tickets, they literally are swimming around avoiding lines and eating. So it certainly works, and it's something I'm going to carry on doing. Okay, so I'm going to put this one out now. I want to get it as close to the float as I can. In an ideal world, it'll be behind the float, exactly behind the float, probably a foot or so behind it, and maybe just slightly to the left. But I want it really close to the float. The spot I'm fishing isn't massive, and I have found out by putting the marker out that it is certainly firmer to the right. So what I don't want to do is go too far left and end up squeezing left and coming off the spot. It isn't a spot. It's not a feature or anything like that. It's just a flat bottom, but I know it's firmer on one side, and it's where I've caught from. So if I'll spend time to get this one out. This is the most important rod, really, the one that goes out first, because it needs to be close to the float. Because when you're baiting and you're spomming, I'm spomming to a marker float. What's going to happen is naturally, instinct is going to be, I'm going to spom at the float. It's always going to happen. You can put some left and right, but because there's a float there, that's what you're going to aim at. So a lot of the bait's going to go around the float, so it's very important that the first rig goes really close to that float. So that's what we're going to do. And that is perfect. Donk, straight on the spot, right next to the float. Couldn't have gone better, to be honest with you. Really pleased with that one. That's it. Okay, so that's it. That's the third rod out on the spot. First one went right behind the float, which was really nice. Gave me plenty of room to work with. I'm probably fishing, it looks from here about sort of 6 foot, so it's probably a rod length from right to left of the spot, but that is still pretty tight at 75 yards. That's to say, third one's gone out nicely. All three have gone down with a crack, so I know I'm at the right side of the spot as opposed to the left, which is a little bit softer. I'm now going to clip up the spom, 17 wraps, exactly the same as the rods, get some bait out there and see what happens.
well, certainly not the biggest from St John's, but it's a start to our winter campaign down here. Myself and Adam and Sarah rocked up today, got the rods out quickly really, just to try and get them in before dark, and to be blessed with this one just on dark, just as it's getting dark, absolutely over the moon. That longer spot that I've been fishing now, quite a bit of bait really still for December. A lot of people are quite fearful of putting bait in, and a single orange pop up over the top, absolutely awesome. Slip her back, rod is already back out. Let's see what the rest of the night brings. Happy days. Right then, after that fish yesterday, unfortunately nothing happened. As you just seen, Adam's put all his rods back out, back on the same spot. If anything, gone a bit tighter, the boy, fair play to him. Mine and Adam's opinions differ on what I'm about to say now. I've had that fish from long range. I say long range, it's right at the back of my area. Spoken to Roper yesterday, I'm in my limits, but it is right at the edge. And as Adam said, there are a lot of people on the lake. Everyone's casting into the middle of the bowl. And what that's allowed me to do is keep an eye on a different area, an area where I had a good run of fish just in the end of autumn. I did put bait out there yesterday and was going to intend to fish that, but seeing those fish further out did make me move. However, what that's allowed me to do now is simply cast out a PVA bag back onto that spot. I know it's had bait now for the last 12, 14 hours without any interruption. There are a few anglers getting close to that area, but certainly the way that I'm fishing it short at only 20 odd wraps means that I'm going to probably be the only bit of hook bait out there. A simple silk wire, hook link and silk grey leader, single grain of corn in a mix of pellet, and I'm going to put probably 2 or 3 spoms of just pure corn over the top. A great winter tactic, as I say, I have seen fish in that area. So where me and Adam differ, and Adam will stick to his guns, which is a fantastic thing, I do like to chop and change. And going back to that area, I think is going to give me a rod off a spot where no one else is fishing, and fingers crossed it will produce a bonus fish. Bump, that's perfect. There we are, bolted out with the blue. Just put the rods back out and just picked up the spod rod. Just put the bait into the spod, and this one's ripped off. A December 20 pounder, which is exactly what we wanted to come for. Yet again, still one of the smaller residents in St John's, but December 20 pounders are worth their weight in gold. Yet again, that washed out orange bun spice pop up, trimmed down, this time on the lead clip. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. It was completely caught us out of the dark. We were expecting all the bites to come in darkness, but this one in the light is just reward. Slip this one back, and I'm now going to actually put those spoms of bait over the top. Unfortunately, it did wipe Adam out, but we got him back out, got myself back out, and held up this beautiful St John's 20 pounder. Right then, slip her back and see what the rest of the day's got to hold. Well, the rod's been out literally 5 more minutes, few more spoms over the top, and this epic scaly one has gone in the net. Same rig, same tactic, even the same rod as I said. But we haven't weighed this one, just held up very quickly to the camera, but the session's certainly going well. Those fish do seem to have been centralised out in that middle section. So rod's already back out, and yeah, really happy with this one, really happy. So I think it's the old adage, they don't have to be big when they look like that, and they certainly do not. Awesome times. Right, I wanted to sort of take a couple of minutes to sit down and talk through how the sessions go in and sort of this winter campaign, if you like. Now, Adam's already talked about how he finds spots and how we've sort of located the fish, but the truth is we've focused our attention in this bowl section. The reason for that is it's deeper, There's not a load of features, but there are some features that you can pick up. There's gravel bars, etc. There's a margin line. And that's the thing really with winter venues. You've got to pick the venue. St John's has got a reputation of doing well in the winter when the conditions are right, and we've been lucky enough to hit it right on a few occasions. Leading up to this, myself and Adam came down to do another filming session, which sort of inspired us to do this winter campaign down here, and both of us came away with some nice £30 plus fish. And for that, as that weather was getting colder and already those fish had moved into that area, we thought that maybe if we could get into that area every time, we'd have a winter campaign. And certainly that is one big thing to take from sort of cold water carping, is pick your venue, and not only pick your venue, pick where you think those fish are going to be. Now obviously if you roll up, you want to still be using your watercraft, you still want to be looking, but if you can sort of tick off areas, not definitely, but 90% tick off areas, shallow areas potentially, unless the sun gets up, then they do move into them. But it's all about knowing the venue, and I think that's what a lot of people make a mistake about potentially when it comes into cold water. They start to look for venues before thinking about them, and I think by picking a venue with winter form or picking areas in your venue that have winter form, you're going to break that down very quickly and sort of isolate those fish to an area. So I say that, but never neglect other areas. As we've said and we've seen already, when that sun came up, sort of their first session, those fish did start to move into the sort of shallower water to try and get some form of warmth on their back. So be mindful of where the fish may end up, not necessarily potentially where they are when you first arrive. For us, rigs have been ticked off for a long time. So our Ronnies that we both use on those power curve hooks, deadly. Baiting is the biggest thing that has been of difference between myself and Adam. Where Adam is very rock up, set out his stall and put 3 rods straight on it, because that's the style he's comfortable with, and that's something that you must do, is fish how you are comfortable. I always like to play it by ear a little bit more. I'll bring enough bait that if it kicks off, a whole bucket of bait can easily go out and more in the van. But certainly the way I fish this is trickling them in, sort of started with 10 spoms and then 6 to 8 spoms on top of every fish. And that seems to have worked for me. You've seen as well, I changed tactics to PVA bag. That's purely my chosen sort of cold water tactic. When I don't know where fish might be, is to cast PVA bags. I've got a load tied up, armour braid through to a small power curve, fish wafter style, load of pellet in the bag. It means that I can drum them out to wherever I potentially see fish, or if I just fancy moving a rod for an hour or two. The biggest thing is, if you think you can and you think you want to do something, then do it. Same as zigs, we've been using zigs, zig aligners. Yeah, the zig bugs, they seem to work. But it's all about adaptability in winter, is being willing to change your approach, change your thought processes on a turn of a switch. One fish showing can change a whole session. Move to that fish. But here at St John's, obviously, we've been not hemmed in, because I don't like that word at all, but it's a day ticket venue, everyone pays their money, everyone gets their water. But I think it's being able to work out where you want to fish within that water is an absolute edge. But as the session continues, fingers crossed there's going to be a few more for us. But hopefully we're sort of showing you how we approach our winter fishing.
I think I was probably one of the last anglers to start using pop-ups. A lot of people, when I was fishing bottom baits all the time, started using pop-ups, and it just wasn't for me. Probably 6-7 years ago, I started looking at the sort of the hinge stiff rigs and the flexi hinge rigs where you use jelly wire instead of a stiff boom, and I started catching really well. And I tended to find a lot of the bigger fish came to pop-ups as well. So instantly it was something I switched over to, and I pretty much used it all the time. It's probably 5 years now since I've cast a bottom bait out, I'd say, something like that. When I first heard about the spinner rig, like a lot of things, I left it because I just thought everyone's going to be on it. It's not worth the hype. I'm just going to leave it. Again, just like the flexi hinge rig, I was probably the last person ever to cast a chod out as well. It's just, I don't like to follow the crowds as much because you're just doing the same as everybody else. But after a while, and after seeing people using the spinner rig and seeing how it was working, I couldn't ignore it. The ability to be able to take the hook off and change it instantly is just something that is fantastic for me. I do a lot of short sessions, and what I like to do is make sure that the hook is as sharp as physically possible. I'm not into hook sharpening, I'm not very good at it, but I tend to find if you are sharpening hooks, you can sometimes be quite bad at it, you can get it wrong. If you sharpen it too far, you can nick the point. So I love the power curves, straight out the packet, razor sharp, and they're as good as anything you're going to get. Say as sharp as a hand sharpened hook, but they've got that extra strength. So I do change them a lot though, as I say. So to be able to do that, switch it over, quickly change it, pull down a bit of kicker just to kick it over to make sure it's at the right angle. Fantastic for me. As it lands, because I fish it on a helicopter rig, the jelly wire always kicks it away, lands on the spot, and when the fish comes towards it, because it's got that rotation, it always goes towards the fish's lip. So it's kind of, well, it is self-hooking really. As soon as the fish comes near it, wafts the water, moves about, it'll turn around and it's in the prime position. The hook holds are absolutely fantastic. And again, once you've got a fish in the net, I simply cut the lead core leader, sort the fish out. Once it's unhooked, it's a case of bead off, new hook on, and out we go. Really, really quick, really effective. It's something I've used through this session. I plan to use it from the start and I haven't stopped. I have changed the hook bait slightly. I started off on a very, very small barrel and I've gone for a sort of 14mm pop-up towards the end, just because I wanted that extra buoyancy, just to make sure it's really sort of up and in the face. As it's worked for me wherever I've taken it, day ticket, syndicate, but on a busy day ticket like this, it was really the way to go, because I want that quick movement, effective hooking, and everything that picks it up needs to be nailed.
Well, would you believe it? 39.5 pounds of StJohns mirror carp. After 3 smaller ones, this is an absolute just desserts. Had a nightmare. Grebe wiped me out on 2 of my long rods. Managed to get them out. Did a live broadcast with PB, and 5 minutes later the rods ripped off. Absolutely over the moon, and it's a big stepping back for me because it's the first 30 pounder I've had in December. I've had them in every other month, numerous in other months obviously, but this is the first December 30 pounder. Absolutely buzzing. Oh yes, Garland! Yes, Garland!
Okay, so we're back down at Linear StJohns. We're here to film the next part of the winter series, and we've got off to a flyer. Rods have only been out half an hour, 3 rods on a spot as usual, plenty of bait, and this one's picked up a pink pop-up on a power curve on the Ronnie rig as usual. Absolutely stunning. We're gonna get this one back and take a little bit of time to go through our baiting approach of what we use, why we use it, and how we apply it. With any day ticket lake, there's limitations to where you can cast and areas that you're able to fish in. When we pick these swims, John's opted to go on the left-hand side, which is giving him further distance than me. He can go up to sort of 25 wraps out towards the middle. I'm slightly more cut off. I prefer to fish closer in anyway, but the swim I've chosen on the right-hand side gives me sort of 20 wraps maximum. Now, I don't like to go to the maximum because everybody seems to do that. So the people on the other side will be going to their maximum, the people behind them, and then you tend to find that everybody's casting into the same area. And one of the things my pet hates about carp fishing is when everyone's fishing on top of each other. So I've opted to go 17 wraps. Over the sessions I have moved slightly left and right, but it is set around 17, 18 at an absolute maximum. Now, because I am closer in, I am aware that this time of year a lot of the fish are spending a lot of time right out in the middle. And again, you'd get a lot of people casting straight out there, and if you're not careful, everybody's casting at the same group of fish. Because I'm fishing closer, what I like to do is put a lot more bait in. I like to get the bait in, get a big baited zone going, and then what I can do is tweak with my hook baits and a little bit, just to try and sort of find what's working on the day. When we first did the recce here, just before winter started, I had a really nice mid-30 common, and that fell to a little tiny pink dumbbell pop-up. The other rods didn't have pink pop-ups on at all. They'd all got whites, one white and one yellow. So when I came back the next session, I was straight away, all three were on pink, and I was lucky enough to bank another one. Again, pink was the colour. This session I've gone slightly different, and I've started off with the pinks, but I've gone with the bigger baits just to put a bit more buoyancy in there. And then as we're into the second night now, I've switched everything over. I've gone for a size 6 power curve, so a little bit smaller, because I've brought the pop-up down to 11mm. We've got some really nice 11mm pink. I've got a pink and I've got a yellow out there as well. Just something a little bit different, just to trying to nick another bite. As I say, the mix I like to put out, I like to put a bit of everything. The main base of my mix, which I've got here, is hemp. I really like the chili hemp. I've then put sweet corn in there as well. I've put some little 12mm nuts boilies in there. Pellet, which is salmon fry crumb, which fish just love, sinks really quick, they absolutely love it. And then I've actually put bloodworm in there as well. Bloodworm, another fantastic addition to the bait. It absolutely stinks, and if you put it in, not a lot, you don't need a lot, because it's not cheap stuff, bloodworm, but if you're buying it in kilo blocks, I'll probably split that into 4 and then refreeze it, and just use 1/4 kilo. That's all I'm putting out there. You put that in on top, give it a stir, and you can really see all the bloodworm on the boiling in the corn, and it just works really, really well. So that's my approach. As I say, I like to get a big bed going out there, you've got your spot, and then you can start tweaking rigs and baits accordingly. Rig-wise, I've stuck with the Ronnie rig, as I say. I've gone with a slightly stiffer boom now than when I first started, because I didn't feel the fish were moving that much. But it gives you an opportunity when you've got a baited zone, you know where you are, you're not going to be moving during the session. What you can do is just tweak the hook baits to get that extra bite.
Well, literally just about to take the pictures of a fish that I had during an epic rainstorm this morning, and the same rod that I put back out on the spot has ripped off. Started off feeling a bit bigger, but as it's coming in now, it's giving up the ghost. Right, wait there, see if I can dance underneath these. Oh, tiny little common. Can you show us the net, please? Well, I would have bet that was a bigger fish from the start. No, it's 20 in it. I think that might be another one. I'll have to reel that in anyway. Well, we were just about getting this ready for some photos and a bit of filming in a lead up to talk about Adam and myself's baiting approach. And literally got it on the mat and the other rod ripped off. So proof in the pudding that different baiting approaches are working. As I said, me and Adam will talk through how we approach this venue very differently when it comes to bait, and obviously the rigs and bits and pieces. But just over £20, first fish of 2022, and yeah, just a continuing run really. I'm really happy with how the sort of winter cold water series has gone. Even though behind us the conditions very much don't look wintry, I think we're about to receive a little bit of snow. But an absolute stunning 20 plus StJohns mirror, and we've got another one already in the net, so happy days. Well, as we said, no sooner was the first fish on the mat than the same rod ripped back off again when I recast. No more bait on top, and that's something that I will talk about when we talk about bait application and how I fish for them in the colder months on a busy day ticket. Just under £25, so £24 and 10 ounces for anyone that knows that there is no fish just under something. But yeah, an absolute testament to getting it right in cold water. So without further ado, we're not going to chops on too much. I'm going to slip her back. The rods are already back on the mark, and we will see what the rest of the day brings. Right, well, I've been thrust to sit down really and sort of talk about a session as a whole. And when I say a session, obviously you've been following us through a few sessions in winter, in the cold water, in the cold weather, and we've had a mixture of everything really. We've had that super mild period a couple of weeks ago, sort of double figures overnight, to today where we've had snow. So it's been a mixed match of sort of temperatures and conditions, but let it be assured it has certainly been cold weather carping from the off. So how's it gone? Obviously you've seen we've caught plenty of fish, myself and Adam, and sort of what do we attribute that to? And that's location, application and sort of determination really, if anything else. We've come here, we've set a target to sort of get into the same area, which is the bowl behind us, and sort of really attack those fish. Now, as Adam has said previously, where he selected to fish, because I selected somewhere different, we've tried two different approaches. So Adam is heavily baiting, trying to draw those fish into his swim, whereas from the off, I have been able to access those fish in a slightly longer range swim with those fish sitting in that middle of the bowl area. For me, bait application has been hugely important throughout this sort of sessions. And as Adam has alluded to before, I'm a trickler really, a match style angler where I'll give him initial amounts of bait and then I will sort of trickle feed. Whereas Adam likes to give him a good old solid amount of food and get them to come on to that bait. And both approaches have worked. And that's something really to take with you through this sort of series of filming, is lots of different things work. You know, our rigs are ultimately the same, and all that's changed is our rig application, our positioning of our rigs and our location, but both of those have worked. And the thing to take from you into winter is fish confidently. Don't try and change a million things, because in my eyes it doesn't need to be. Those fish are still exactly the same thing, but more and more importantly becomes location. As if you've seen, being able to access a little bit further into the bowl has been an incredible edge. So it's been a great couple of sessions. We've still got 24 hours left to go, and the hopes are still very high, but so far, yeah, it's been really good. And for us, it's about catching those fish in cold weather.
So we've come to the end of our winter campaign. It's been interesting to say the least. From my part, there's some things I could have done differently, definitely. As soon as the first session we got here, it was clear to see that the fish were sort of out at range. I was dead set on staying at my usual range. I like to fish 18, 19, up to 20 wraps. I'd like to keep it as close as I can. I think I was quite affected by the people on the side bank, because they were going out quite far, and it's not just been 1 week, it's been a few weeks, so different people, different distances. So I got it in my head that instead of sort of going out and competing with others, I was going to keep back and keep my own water. It worked. I have caught fish, but in hindsight I probably should have gone a little bit further and maybe a little bit further left than I have done, but I stuck to my guns, and I haven't had the result that John had, unfortunately, but I have caught fish and it's been very enjoyable.
Yeah, and I think, and that's the thing really, that the whole winter campaign is, we've tried to sum up, is we have fished differently, we have done different things, with some similarities like the rigs, sort of the bait we have put in, just maybe not the quantities. And that's the thing really to take from this video, is winter fishing can be tough, but it can also be rewarding, and it's all about how you attack your chosen venue really at these colder months to get the best from them. But it has been great, and no doubt, mate, we will be back out in spring to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, we will do exactly the same thing again.